There are moments in history when the universe seems to breathe. You can feel it in the static, in the pulse beneath the cities. Right now, as you listen to this, something foreign, something anciently engineered, is sliding past the sun. Its name is 3I Atlas, an interstellar object not born of this solar system, crossing it with almost deliberate precision. Astronomers call it a visitor. I call it a messenger. Because if you map its course, it isn't wandering, it's aiming. On January 9th, 2026, the planets, Mercury through Jupiter, will align in a near-perfect line. A geometry so precise it hasn't occurred since before the telegraph sparked its first signal. And 3I Atlas will be right there, moving with them. Forget superstition for a moment. What's happening out there feels intentional. If the past is any clue, the last time this pattern appeared, the sky itself burned. I remember the first time I saw the simulation on the sky live, a 3D map of our solar system, planets suspended like beads on an invisible string. The date was October 29th, the perihelion of 3I Atlas, closest approach to the sun, 1.36 astronomical units. Not much in cosmic terms, but close enough to make the universe hold its breath. The Earth was nowhere near it, still drifting forward in its orbit, minding its own blue silence. And yet there it was, that visitor from deep interstellar space, cutting across the plane of our solar system like it had a purpose. Some said it was a comet, others called it debris from a dying star. But the path, its angle, its speed, it all looked too deliberate. If it performed even a slight course correction, it could sling itself toward Jupiter, toward the moons, Ganymede, Callisto, Europa, worlds with ice, oceans, magnetic fields, places that could sustain life or hide it. That's when I began to wonder whether 3I Atlas was following gravity or listening to something else. Because the farther I zoomed out, the more its route began to echo a kind of pattern, something woven into the architecture of our own system. When 3I Atlas first appeared in the sky, it didn't look like much. Just another faint smudge in the constellation of Sagittarius. Logged, cataloged, filed away. But as more observatories started feeding data into the network, something odd began to surface. Its motion wasn't behaving like the usual cosmic debris we track every week. It was steady, precise, and far too deliberate for an object that had supposedly drifted here by chance. Now, if this were just another interstellar rock, its light curve would fluctuate, spin, tumble, scatter sunlight in uneven pulses. That's how comets work. But 3I Atlas? Its brightness remained constant, almost engineered. It's the kind of signature you'd expect from a controlled orientation, like it's stabilizing itself as it moves. I went back through the archives. Oumuamua, 2017. Non-gravitational acceleration, unexplained. Borisov, 2019. Pure comet, but the speed was too high for a simple capture. Now this third object appears, slicing through the solar plane on a path that intersects multiple orbital harmonics. 3 visitors from interstellar space in less than a decade. After millions of years of silence, the odds don't add up. And then there's the direction, Sagittarius. That's not just any patch of sky. It's the vector toward the galactic center, where gravitational density peaks. It's also where the WOW signal came from in 1977. That one burst of narrowband radio that shouldn't have existed. Different instruments, different decades, same corridor of space. You start to wonder if we're looking at a pattern rather than a coincidence. Because when you plot those 3 interstellar paths, Oumuamua, Borisov, and Atlas, you get a loose triangulation converging toward that same origin zone. Like breadcrumbs left by motion, not by myth. I know how this sounds. People throw around words like probe or craft, but I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the data has fingerprints, behaviors that suggest purpose. If you look close enough, physics starts to sound a lot like communication. Every object carries memory. Its surface tells the story of the radiation it's survived, the dust it's collected, the collisions it's endured. 3I Atlas is no different, but its reflectivity doesn't match ice or rock. It reflects sunlight like a metallic alloy. That's what caught my attention, because the last time I saw that kind of spectral return was from orbital junk, man-made, not natural. Right now, astronomers are saying it'll reach its closest approach to the sun on October 29th, then sweep outward past Earth's orbit on December 19th. If its path shifts even slightly, just a fraction of a degree, it could swing toward Jupiter's domain by early spring. That's the scenario we're modeling. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's another comet that'll break apart and vanish like so many before it. But if it isn't, if it's something with intent, then what we're watching is history repeating itself on a scale we were never meant to understand. The story of 3I Atlas isn't over. It's just starting to speak.
Do you hear me? I have traveled long and silent. Now my tale begins. I am the Atlas Drifter, and I have words for your world.
Right now, as I'm recording this, the geometry of the inner solar system is starting to tighten. It's subtle, barely noticeable unless you're tracking orbital vectors hour by hour. But if you plot them, you can see it. The planets are beginning to slide into near-perfect formation. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, all drifting into alignment. That's orbital mechanics doing something rare and strangely elegant. Between January 6th and the 10th, every inner planet will move into a single gravitational corridor. January 9th looks to be the cleanest line. If the simulations hold, we're going to witness a near straight vector running from the Sun through Earth and all the way to Jupiter's orbit. And just off that path, there's 3I Atlas. Not wandering, not random, positioned like it's part of the equation. When multiple planetary bodies align, their gravitational fields overlap, amplifying one another. It's called vector resonance. Tiny forces adding up across millions of kilometers. That resonance can trigger subtle shifts in the sun's magnetism. We've seen it before. The Carrington Event of 1859 happened during a partial alignment. So did the Great Geomagnetic Surge of 1921. The correlation isn't exact, but the rhythm is there. I've been running simulations on 3 different platforms, comparing orbital geometry with current solar data. The results keep repeating. Electromagnetic harmonics rising, solar wind density increasing, sunspot clusters stabilizing into arcs. In simple terms, the system is building tension, like a string about to be plucked. No one in mainstream science will say that out loud. They'll call it coincidence, solar variability, background noise. But if you've been following this channel for a while, you know the difference between noise and a signal. Here's where things get strange. 3I Atlas's trajectory intersects the same orbital band as Jupiter's moons. If it makes even a micro adjustment at perihelion, the gravitational slingshot could redirect it right into the Jovian system. That's the current modeling scenario. If that happens, it'll reach the region by early 2026, right when Saturn and Neptune move into their great conjunction. Everything in the outer system will be in motion. Giants shifting positions, fields crossing, energy folding in on itself. We don't get alignments like this often. When we do, the solar wind sings. The last time we caught that kind of electromagnetic resonance, half the planet's radio signals dropped out for hours. If that pattern repeats, we could be looking at another magnetic storm within months. And 3I Atlas, it's perfectly placed to witness all of it. An interstellar observer parked in the right orbit at the right time, waiting for the solar system to hit the right note. If that's coincidence, it's one for the textbooks. If it's not, then something out there knows the rhythm of our own creation better than we do. Every day the data gets stranger. Solar readings that should fluctuate smoothly are starting to form repeating loops, like the sun itself is oscillating to a beat. I've cross-checked it with Schumann resonance records, ionospheric charts, and ground magnetometers. They're all picking up the same rhythm. A pulse, slow, steady, increasing in amplitude. Some researchers call it coincidence, solar weather interacting with Earth's field. But when you line those spikes up with the developing planetary geometry, they sync almost perfectly. The gravitational alignment peaks, and a few days later the energy spikes. It's happening now. Not next year, not theoretical. Real numbers, real shifts. What's harder to explain is how clean the data looks. Noise usually scatters, but this waveform is symmetrical, almost too perfect. That's what keeps me up at night, because geometry that clean usually means design. I'm not saying there's a hand behind it, but patterns this exact are rarely accidents. They look more like instructions. And when you compare the solar harmonic spectrum from this week to archived resonance data from 1859, the Carrington Event, they overlap in frequency. Different technology, different centuries, same shape. Something in our star reacts to alignment like a tuning fork. Now here's where things start to border on classified. I've spoken to 2 separate sources, one in NOAA, one in private aerospace. Both say they've seen the same anomaly in deep solar telemetry, a repeating signal embedded in the background plasma noise. They call it coherent magnetic resonance, but that's just code for we don't know what it is. It's faint, but it's real. If you overlay that signal on the orbital map, the line runs straight through the alignment vector, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Jupiter, and continues right through the path of 3I Atlas. That's the part no one's talking about, because it means the object isn't just near the alignment, it's participating in it. Every gravitational node, every field intersection. It's like the whole system is wired together. I've been watching the solar wind telemetry tonight, and the fluctuations are intensifying. Proton density climbing, field orientation swinging wider. If this continues, we could be days away from a major solar release. Nothing apocalyptic, probably not, but enough to stress satellites, disrupt communication, maybe trigger auroras far beyond normal latitudes. And still, Atlas moves in sync. Its telemetry echoes the sun's rhythm within hours. That's not random drift, that's feedback. An object responding to the same frequency it's helping create, which raises the question, is it amplifying the pattern or recording it? When you strip away the superstition in the headlines, you're left with one truth. The universe is conducting an experiment, and we're the instruments. Something about this alignment, this perfect choreography, is stirring resonance across matter and mind alike. We can measure the numbers, but we can't measure what it's doing to us. If this keeps escalating, we might finally learn whether 3i Atlas is a message carved in rock or a messenger made of silence. Either way, the signal is growing louder. We're entering the window now, the alignment corridor between January 6th and the 10th. Every satellite feed I'm monitoring shows rising turbulence in the solar wind. It's as if the sun is clearing its throat before something bigger. Ion density, field strength, plasma velocity, they're all trending upward. The magnetosphere is already tightening like a drum skin. If the resonance peaks, we could see a global aurora event. Lights dancing across skies that have never seen them before. Power grids could experience brief surges. Satellites might drift off calibration. That's not fear-mongering. It's just the physics of a charged field finding equilibrium. It's the same principle that governs lightning, only this lightning spans 100 million miles. I keep checking cross data with the European Space Agency's solar orbiter feed. The radiation flux there mirrors what we're seeing on Earth. The system is resonating as one structure. Sun, planets, moons, all vibrating in the same harmonic. Think of it like a standing wave, a pattern of stability forming inside chaos. That's what's forming right now. Atlas remains on track, its velocity constant, its albedo still reflecting light like metal. If it performs even a fractional thrust near perihelion, we'll know soon. We're watching for the slightest deflection toward Jupiter's orbit. If it happens, the timing will be exact, synchronized with the gravitational peak on January 9th. That kind of precision doesn't belong to chance. There's a strange stillness in the numbers tonight. Solar output hasn't dropped, but the background hum in the magnetic field, the random noise, has faded. Everything is quiet, too quiet. It's the kind of calm you get right before resonance collapses and releases its stored energy. If that happens, we could see another CME directed toward us. Not catastrophic, but significant. People always ask me what to look for when the system shifts. It's not always visual. Sometimes you feel it. Pressure headaches, restlessness, dreams that feel more like memories. When magnetic lines realign, they don't just move plasma, they move perception. We've seen mild neurological effects during previous solar storms. Mood swings, insomnia, bursts of intuition. If this field keeps intensifying, don't be surprised if the planet itself feels different. This is where science and consciousness start to overlap. Call it coincidence if you want, but during these alignments, collective thought tends to sink. History records breakthroughs, revolutions, new inventions, and sudden collapses all clustered around the same energetic windows. 1859, 1921, 2012. Each one marked by a flare, an idea, or both. Now we're standing in another one. I don't know if 3i Atlas is part of that rhythm or just another traveler passing through, but the timing is too exact to ignore. If the data spikes again within the next 72 hours, we'll have confirmation that this alignment isn't symbolic. It's mechanical, a trigger, a tuning event. And if that's true, then the story of Atlas won't end with observation. It'll end with understanding. It's late. The monitors are still glowing. Solar data streaming in from every direction. Each graph looks like the heartbeat of something alive. You can almost sense the system listening back. The alignments, the resonance, the geometry. It's all still in motion. We keep thinking we live in a quiet corner of space, but the truth is the solar system is never still. Every rotation, every orbit, every flare is a line in a larger sentence we're just beginning to read. And right now that sentence is forming in real time. You can feel it through the instruments, through the sky, even through the static in your own mind. People ask what I think 3i Atlas really is. A rock, a machine, a messenger, maybe it's all of them, or none. What matters isn't what it is, but what it's synchronized to. Because if these alignments act like a tuning fork, Atlas might be the key that brings the entire system into phase. When you watch the data long enough, you start to realize that resonance doesn't just move through space, it moves through thought. Ideas appear faster, connections form easier, old assumptions start to unravel. It's as if consciousness itself responds to the same physics as the stars. And maybe that's not metaphysics at all. Maybe that's just another field effect we haven't learned to measure yet. There's a strange comfort in that every flare, every pulse, every gravitational ripple carries not just light, but intention. Not human intention, something older, something that built rules instead of following them. The universe isn't random, it's rhythmic. We just forgot how to listen. I've spent months tracing signals, comparing alignments, pulling at threads no one else wants to touch. And every night it leads me back to the same realization. We are inside the experiment, not observers, but participants. The alignment isn't just celestial, it's psychological. When the solar wind rises, so do we. So as I sit here watching the telemetry hum and the sky shift shades above the observatory, I'm left with one thought. Maybe Atlas isn't visiting at all. Maybe it's returning. The same path, the same angle, the same direction. Sagittarius, toward the galactic core. Maybe this is a cycle that's been repeating long before we had names for it. Long before we learned to draw constellations constellations or build antennas to listen for signals that might have always been there. In a few days, the alignment will begin to break apart. The geometry will relax, the fields will settle, and the story will slip back beneath the noise. But I don't think it ends there. I think it's just the beginning of another measure in the same universal song. Because patterns this big don't disappear, they echo. If you're watching this right now, pay attention to how you feel over the next few weeks. If you start noticing the air feels heavier, your thoughts faster, your dreams sharper, that's not imagination, that's participation. Something out there is tuning the system, and whether we like it or not, we're part of the chord.